Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for watching. And in this video I'm going to show you how I did this rather cool, scary looking demonic conversion of the mythic blighthauler for deathguard. It is much easier to do than it looks, so I'm going to show you in this video the simple steps that I took to make it look like you're seeing here. So it starts off exactly like the original build, going in some super speed here with the blightaulers, a fantastic model. I have done a blighthauler conversion video on the channel over a year ago where I did a tentacle coming out of where the multi-melter is. This is a bit more of a demonic build than I've done before. Not entirely my idea. I have seen this done before somewhere. I cannot remember where and I can't find the photos or anything to show you, but this is something that I think has been knocking around for a while. Now start off, you saw there, getting to a certain stage of the build. Before we're doing anything with the carapaces, I'm taking some blue stuff molds of kind of the teeth of the top jaw and the bottom jaw, because that was my intention for how to replicate the kind of teeth and things that are sticking out. Doesn't quite go to plan, as you'll see shortly. Now I do build also two other blightaulers that you'll see in the background completely normally or virtually. And the first part to me is separating the weaponry from the carapace section. So I've just taken the two sides before gluing the weapons on, remove them, clean them up, and then I'm sticking them into exactly the same place before then we're working on the carapace. Now here I'm taking off all the mounting pins that the carapace sections go into, because we want the carapace to sort of slide in amongst each other and not be in their original positions. Then gluing the weapons on so that they can begin to set while we work on the carapace sections. So it's a normal build up to this point, and after that you're obviously going to see. Now with the carapace, we've obviously separated this from those weapon mounts you've already seen. It's then just giving them a bit of a clean up, and then really I was test fitting, so I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to be doing, whether we could slide that carapace back far enough. But if you keep it in one piece, it won't actually sort of slide back and leave the gaps sort of correctly. It sort of breaks up a little bit and gives too wide a gap between the carapace and the body. So I decided I needed to separate this top carapace into two pieces, and you can see here it does look like two armor panels. So just being really careful with the clippers, keeping the flat side of the clipper to the back carapace section, because the flat side of the clipper obviously gives the cleaner cut, and I wanted that clean cut on the back section. I don't think it matters which way around you do that particularly, but then I cleaned that up and then slid the back section of that carapace much further back than it normally mounts, and this is how we're going to sort of make that wide open jaw. Slapping a bit of extra polystyrene cement and then putting that second piece that we've separated and then again sliding that back. Being careful to make sure there's no big gaps between those carapace sections and it kind of looks natural. Then I've just literally bent that top prong, as you call it, with the chaos symbol, just bending that back to slide the bottom section of the carapace right up and in, and that gives us the big open jaw. Now you've seen those molds that I've made of the teeth from the top and the bottom. Now I'm just mixing up milliput and green stuff together to mold and make the teeth. Now milliput and green stuff together because it gives it a little bit more strength with milliput. Milliput's a little bit stronger, less flexible, but the green stuff holds a little bit more detail and hopefully means it'll give it a bit of flex so it won't snap when it's coming out of the mold. Sometimes that can be an issue with milliput if you're molding small pieces. And then just getting this pushed into those molds that I'd made. Now I'm a big fan of blue stuff and casting up pieces. I do it an awful lot. If you don't fancy doing it, you don't have to do those steps, and you'll see in a bit we do other things to make the teeth. Now you can see the spare green stuff milliput mix I've pushed right to the back of the kind of the throat, as you call it, of the creator, just to use it. We're going to bulk that out now. Now this is removing the actual green stuff and milliput parts from these molds, and it didn't quite go 100% to plan. I just had to split the mold to get the piece back out. It's quite a small piece, and you can do very small parts with the blue stuff kind of molding technique. Didn't go quite to plan on here. It has worked, but a lot of flash has kind of come off from there, and you'll see in a second I did break some of the smaller teeth when removing them from the mold, so I needed to come up with another plan, and that's something to always be think of when you're doing kit bashes. Always think what you're going to do if it goes wrong and if it doesn't work. Now it would have been brilliant and easy to do it this way, because then I wouldn't have needed to necessarily kit bash anything or root through some other kits, but I think it's worked out really particularly well. You can see here as I'm fighting it out of the mold, I do break it. Now one option for me would have been to glue these two pieces together, but it would have then been a little bit of a structural weakness as we're going, and we don't want that. The other thing I did consider was putting little bits of wire into the molds for that green stuff to form around in the mold, and that absolutely would have worked. But I decided I've got a big enough bits box from all the deathguard stuff I've worked on before, so I dug out all the spares from my bits box and had a good thorough root through. A couple of bases I've made there, and that's the point. I'm not going to show the bases and stuff and how I've done that on these models. This is just about the kit bash. So I dug through and found the right pieces. I've done a big knight army that's all featured on the channel before, if you want to check that out, and I didn't put a lot of the horns and spikes and things on those knights when I was building them, because it doesn't really fit from my eyes into the Nurgle theme. So I was just hunting through for a lot of these horns and spikes and teeth and things off that knight kit that, you know, I hadn't used. Now, if you don't have a big bits box, I'm going to show you in a minute what I did with the back teeth of the model, which you'll see. You can do the same thing for the front teeth, or you could even just use the green stuff and Milliput and make your own and mold your own little teeth, and it'd look a bit more sort of interesting and different to other kits. So literally went through, cut out these pieces that I thought would fit for the model, and I've got a bunch that I'll show you in a minute. That's making a big blob of Milliput, ramming it into that model, and now it's time to sculpt the mouth. Now, all I was doing very briefly is pushing it in to the bottom or the top of the model so that it would catch and stick to it, and basically I'm forming a mouth section. So I do gouge out large pieces of Milliput to almost form the mouth, and I'm literally trying to form gums at the top and the bottom of the model for where the teeth are going to go into. So it took a while, you know, pressing this around, just playing with a little bit of a sculpting tool there, taking Milliput out where I thought there was too much in there, and really just having a play. So I didn't really have a particular technique or method I was going for. I just kept playing until it sort of looked a bit like what I imagine a mouth would be. And what I did do is put ridges down the middle of the bottom kind of jaw and the top jaw, just using the back of the sculpting tool, almost to look like the inside of like a dog's mouth or a cat's mouth. When you see that, they're kind of ridged and whatever, rather than it being perfectly smooth. So I worked on that for a few minutes. You see here, this is just in triple speed, until I thought it looked a little bit like, you know, the inside of an animal's mouth. And then it's time to start getting the teeth and things involved. You can see the ridges I'm putting in to the back there. So once you've done that and you're happy, keep playing. It'll be up to you. Now it's time to make the teeth. Now, if you've not got any spare teeth or anything like that, you could use this technique right the way through. This is just cocktail sticks, and all I'm doing is slicing the ends off. And this is going to form the teeth that go at the back of the mouth. I wanted some smaller teeth hidden out of the way slightly so they're not as impactful. But you could use this technique and put some green stuff or Milliput around the top of this spike to bulk them out a little bit if you're using them at the front. So I ended up putting about 6 teeth at either side using this method. So just putting in those cocktail stick heads, top and bottom, kind of jutting out all sorts of weird jaunty angles. You could do the same all the way through and then cover it in green stuff and Milliput, like I said. And then it's using the end of the sculpting tool just to press the Milliput back in around the base of the teeth so that it holds them in place. Now, this is the piece that I moulded off using the blue stuff. So this is moulded from that top set of teeth you can see there. And I'm really making it look like a double set of teeth. Putting a little bit of super glue on because it's touching the plastic as well as the Milliput. And it just sets in there. So that basically is giving like 2 sets of the same front teeth. I thought it made it quite an interesting effect, but that is the only bit I used from that blue stuff casting process that I showed before. Now it's about putting in all those bits of teeth and spikes and things that I'd selected from my bits box in and around the mouth there, and literally same as with the cocktail sticks, pushing it into the Milliput and just making sure it's moulded in around there. You can see some big teeth, small teeth, no real method. You know, they're not symmetrical at either side because that doesn't feel overly demonic. And then using the end of a sculpting tool again, just a dot in and around to give a little bit of texture around those gums and also hold the teeth in place with that little bit of pressure. And really you can see there, totally different mouth either side, different size spikes, different size teeth. And then I made a little tongue using a bit of a cocktail stick, putting some of the spare Milliput around it and just moulded a little tongue shape to push in there. And the same thing again, pressed it down and squeezed it in, give it a bit of texture just to look a little bit interesting in the mouth. And when I was working on it now, I kind of thought I'm not quite happy with the amount of teeth we've got in there. I want to reflect the back teeth at the front. So I thought at this stage, right, I'm going to drop in just another tooth at the very front using the cocktail stick method again, so that, you know, there's a little bit of similarity from the back to the front. You can see the variety of teeth and bits I've used there, and that essentially is the kitbash. So we've seen how I sculpted, or not sculpted, but converted the back panels of the armor so that it's created that open mouth, made some obviously green stuff teeth and things you saw there with the casting process, and the rest is just done with cocktail sticks and Milliput. So this is the post that I then put onto my Instagram page, so check that out if you've not seen that before. It seems to get a good reaction. And then it's the paint scheme. Now, I'm not going to show the paint scheme. This is no different to my other Deathguard paint schemes, plenty on my channel if you want to check those out, but starting off in the same vein as any of my other Deathguard painting. And here's the finished article while I was part way through putting the Nurgle's rot on. I think a really effective and interesting thing to do with the Deathguard blighthauler. Hope you did like that. Should be super easy for you to follow along if you fancy it. So like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz, and I'll see you on another video.